Season 2, episode 2. Welcome everyone on Baobab Chats. This evening, I've got a great panel here. I've got Delfino from Cape Town. I've got Joanito also from Cape Town. I've got Tandiwe also from Cape Town. I've got Brenda time needs. We know everyone, a lot of people struggle with the balancing of time. I know I'm also here to learn. I'm also here to know what do we need to do, to balance our time. There is a lot of things in our lives. We've got some of us are married, some of us are going to school, some of us are working, and there's also side hustles that we're doing. So we just want to find out from the panel, before you just introduce yourself and then you can add your contribution. I will start with Delfino.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lennon. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me. So I'm Delfino, as I've been introduced by Lennon. I'm based here in Cape Town. Basically, what I do is absolutely everything. So I'm probably the best person to be in this conversation. I'm a student, social entrepreneur, business advisor. Uh, uh, 13 months husband. I was calculating that in my head.
Oh, that's great, right?
And I have
Congratulations.
to get that right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. All right. Tandiwe, you can give us your lecture, or you can give us your comment on this balancing time needs. I understand you're also working and you've got your side hustles. There's a lot of things that is happening in people's lives. Your take on this?
Town. I'm 31 years old. I work at MTN as a regional manager for Western Cape region, and I'm also a public relations officer for our company here in Cape Town. Uh, in about time management, basically, as a busy woman, I'm one of the busiest person that I know, one of the busiest people that I know. So, in terms of time management, I believe that what
Mm.
is really important is planning your schedules and like drawing like a pie chart to allocate time schedules to what is important and what is not. So that chart where you that portion where you find that this portion takes a lot of my time or takes top priority should have more time allocated to it, and then so forth as you go on. So I think it's all about planning and balancing your needs.
It's all about planning. Yes, I understand that. It's all about planning. And Brenda in Centurion, take us through your what you've got for us today.
Okay, so my time works a bit differently from everybody, I think, because I'm in real estate. So you have to take a client
Oh,
out
okay.
whenever they are available. So there's, always having to look
Wow.
for balance between family and yourself, studies, because there's always chasing the client, and sometimes you get home really late, and so it would be interesting to just hear how everybody else balances their time, because with some of us, we try and work with what we have. And I don't have like a set time that I'm going to be home at this time. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the most important thing. Sometimes you don't even know when you're gonna be home, especially when you're in the real estate. Someone can just call you and say, "Okay, I want you to come. I want you to show me this place. I want you to show me this house."
Yeah.
And you can't say no. I mean, it's money and it's everything that comes with it. And you are the one who have been committed to do these things. Juanito,
Yeah.
your take on this?
Hello, everybody. My name is Juanito, and I'm from Cape Town, originally from Paul in the Cape Winelands.
Uh,
And I work as a training and facilitation specialist. I think where this relates very well with me is that I've got what they call the shiny object syndrome. So I am
okay.
interested in a lot of things at the same time. So,
Yes.
and my tendency is to go like, "Ooh, I read something nice. I want to go check that out."
Yes.
And then sometimes I'm like, "Oh my word, I got so many balls that I'm trying to hold in the air."
Yes.
So it's something that I've been trying to get right in my own life, and there's some stuff that I've learned along the way that I'm also happy to share as well.
Oh wow, thank you. Delfino was just mentioning that. I mean, he's got a lot of portfolios. I mean, I'm so interested to know how are you balancing? I mean, I know you're struggling or you're not struggling, but how are you balancing these things at the moment? You know, you are just 13 months old, like you said, into marriage, and that takes a lot of time as well. And how are you doing it, Delfino?
Uh, that's a very complicated question, and my wife is going to watch this, so I have to answer this very properly.
Very carefully. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So for me personally, I think from a very early stage, I think I've had to understand what time I work best. So I need to understand what is my most efficient time slot. And fortunately or unfortunately, my best time is between 2 a.m. and 10 a.m. After that, my brain is popped.
Really?
I'm basically slow motion through everything. So I think for me, it's really about. I think aligned to. I think it was Tandy was talking about having a clear schedule. So I know that in the early hours of the morning, that's where I need to do most of my brain intensive work. If it's my master's research, that's the time that I work on it. If it's any prep for any big meetings that I have to do with funders or anything like that, I have to do it in that time. But also at the same time, I think previously, I think a few months ago, I was speaking to one of my mentors, and I was trying to find how do you actually manage all this and still have time for your wife. I think one thing he was sharing with me was actually having a calendar and setting out time. Doesn't mean that you stop being spontaneous, but you need to set aside time. Say this day or this time, it's time for my wife, and everybody else takes a second back seat.
Yeah, but one thing that I want to mention there, Delfino, is as much as you have in your plate, and to be added into that, there is a wife involved. There's a lot of things that also comes that are not on the schedule, and well, everyone knows well. We've been in this. You schedule everything nicely. You know your day is going to be like this. There's always those things. Do you have that thing that is not that important, or that you can say, okay, if something comes up, I'll throw it out? Tandy, how do you do it?
Thanks, Lennon. Firstly, I want to
Um,
agree with Delfino to say you have
mm,
to understand what time schedule works best for you, because there are morning people and there are evening people. I don't
Yeah.
wake I wake up very late, like around 11 a.m. That's my time. And then I sleep very late. I don't sleep before 3 a.m. Like I'm just literally up. And like what Jay was saying, also about disorders that we suffer from mentally, and then they are not that visible to people. I suffer from ADHD, and I'm that type of a person who just can't sit and do nothing. I'm just
What is ADHD, Tandy?
It's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, where you just can't
Oh,
sit, you just want to be that person, that busy person. So I'm just used to working under pressure. I'm not that diary person who comes along with the diary and diarize everything. I'm just used to being under pressure like all the time. I work
mm.
well under pressure. So I think
Is there any advantages to this? I mean, I'll come back to you, Tandy. Is there any advantages to this when you work under pressure? When you just work randomly and you are so under pressure, you just pick up things. Juanita, is there
I mean,
any advantage to this? To what Tandy is saying?
I think it depends on your personality. So I really relate to what you're saying. My brain
Uh,
tends to like really kick in when the deadline is like winking at me, going like, "Girl, you've been busy, but you
yeah, yeah,
haven't
yeah,
been."
yeah.
So there's some advantages to that, but I think what we need to keep in mind with that is sometimes when we do tend to like wait for that last minute, quality tends to suffer. So there's sort of that balancing act that you have to keep in mind as well. So that's something that I've had to learn. Like same Tandiwe, I'm not a schedule person. Like I only started really using my calendar when I started consulting, because then I was like, I really do
You need a
like
calendar.
I need that. But it is finding that balancing act. So some things can work last minute and you can push through and you can do it. But other things really like require time for your brain to like really process information and all of those things. So I think it's a balancing act, and the trick is to know yourself and what works best for you.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
Brenda, Jofino, you want to say something?
yeah, can I just come in there quickly? Sorry, Brenda.
All right.
I think specifically to your question about those things that just pop up, I think those are possibly the biggest time wasters if you don't put it in a priority order.
Yeah.
Because you could be sitting on your desk and there's somebody who wants to come and say and chat during way, especially if it's your focus time. And I think it's important to say, is it the right time for me to do this? If it's not, I rather put it on hold and do it later, because it just ruins your day. It pushes you back. And if you've got deadlines, that makes your deadline suffer. So for me, it's like in my priority list, where does it fall? So if I need to come and see Leonard at his house and he really wants me to go and see him, where does it fall in my priority list? If it's not in that week, then I genuinely should be open and say, I can't do it this week. Can we do it in the following week?
Oh yes, yes. So basically, people should need to be open, to each other, because at the end of the day, we put under a lot ourselves under a lot of pressure, because I mean, you want to please me, or you can't say no to me, and at the end of the day, your schedule is getting shrinked and shrinked and shrinked to the extent that you end up frustrating yourself, and you end up not doing what you're supposed to do on time, and you're missing the deadlines. Brenda, your take on this?
Okay. So I actually agree with what everybody's saying. And one of the things that I've learned is with time in the mornings, people have stuff that is like more important for them, and they want it to be more important for you. So I learned to be selfish with my time as well, because you realize that you get into the office, you want to do this, and your day is, like taken aside in many different ways, because this one wants this that is important to them, and this one wants this that is important for them. So for me, I think sometimes I have to be a bit selfish with my time and say, okay, this is what I scheduled to do. And I know this is important for you, but this is important for me. Because by the time I want to do something, then it's already like urgent. And now I'm running around like a headless chicken, So I think sometimes being selfish with your time is really important, and letting people know that, no, I cannot do this at this present moment in time, and smile while saying that, because people never understand.
While we were talking, Brenda, I saw Stanford just wrote there, how do you balance and how do you manage your time on social media? I mean, on your list, do you put a social media? Because there's some time that you're busy working, like myself, I'm busy working, and then I just see something pops up on the corner of my laptop, and I just, okay, let me just click there. By clicking that thing, it will end up looking at everything. I mean, how are you guys doing it as well? Because I mean, I'm also suffering from that, and it's something that is really big. It takes a lot of time. By the time you know it, you spend like an hour, looking at this thing that is not even necessary. How are you guys doing it? Tanya, Janita, you can go. Jay, you can go.
No, I was saying that I feel like that's a very private question to ask so openly.
Yeah.
Yes. I think we're all just like hanging our heads in shame. But I think it's hard. It's like, it's really, really hard. And I also saw a comment coming through about like, how do you deal with your moods? Like if like you're just not in the mood to do it. And all of those things. And sometimes we get distracted by social media, especially when you don't want to do something and you don't feel like doing something. But I think like what I've learned to do is to be gracious with myself. So yes, like maybe do not go onto social media first thing in the morning when you wake up. That's maybe not the best idea.
And also, talking of social media, we've got those friends that just say, they come into your inbox, say, did you see that? Did you see something?
Exactly.
And then or they tag you on that thing, and I mean, you're forced to open it because you saw, this is Jay, this is Tandy. Let me just open it, And by the time you finish doing those things, I mean, you wasted a lot of time. I mean, Delvino.
Listen, guys, like what Jay is saying, I'm super guilty for social media. Like I go on Instagram and then I lift my head. It's already 2 hours. But I think the complexity with that is our minds always try and do what is fun. We're attracted to the bright things that the shiny objects that Jay was talking about.
Yes.
And social media is one of those things. Unfortunately, it's there, it's addictive, it's fun, nice photos, nice things to look at, which is better than work. But usually, for me personally, I set traps for my head. I don't know if I should call it a trap, but usually I put my phone far away from my working station, just to make sure that, because sometimes you are typing mid-sentence, you just think, do I have any notifications on my Instagram? Like, what the hell? Why am I thinking that now? So I usually try and put it away from my working station. And then when I want to take a break, that's when I actually go and look at Instagram for 2 hours. I'm joking.
and I mean, talking about social media, I mean, social media has been one of those platforms where you even market your things as well. I mean, this is a question to all of us, including myself. I mean, I also need an answer. We've got something that brings money that we can do on social media, and we're not doing it. I mean, we're just watching other things. Why can't we take this time and market our things and do the best we can? If you want to be on social media, then you put your stuff there so that you can follow it up. Tandy, I know you are an entrepreneur. You also on social media. How are you dealing with these things? I know they're addictive, eh?
Yeah, but I think the umbrella term to say people are addicted to social media and then they try to put it as if it's a negative thing, it's not right, man. Because you know what, it's not about being addictive to social media, it's about connecting to your friends and families. It's a natural instinct when you wake up. What is happening around me? How is this person? It's just a natural instinct we all have. So it's not that I'm addicted to Facebook or what, but I just love to my friends. I just love talking to my family who are far away from me. So forgive me, please, for being with my phone. If I'm with my phone,
I love how you're being defensive there.
It's guilty.
I'm on Facebook literally all the time, and I'm looking at my family. I'm looking at I think like what Dee was saying. It also depends on the type of person that you are. Some people are very private. Like my husband is a very very private person. He doesn't like people at all. And me, I love people. I'm so happy when I'm surrounded by people. Like I make it a priority to always see all my friends and families every weekend. So that's the type of person that I am. And then in terms of prioritizing things, like Dee was also saying, I think it all depends on the value that you put in your time. Do you know that we don't have the time that we think we have? Like time is so limited. We don't know when we are gonna die. So we are often so caught up with this work schedule at work, like we go home from 8 and then come back at 6. We often forget and get tired to do things that we should do actually in life, like love one another, spend time with one another, especially with our family, our children, our friends. This is what is important to me, because our jobs, they don't define us. If you get fired today, they will simply replace you immediately.
Yes,
like tomorrow they'll
of
get someone.
course.
But your family, and you don't have that time that you think we have. People are dying every day. This COVID came and took so many people. I think when it comes to balancing time needs, the most important thing that should come to your mind is your family, your friends, your closed circle, more than your job, your careers, and other things that comes after.
All right, Janito, you can take us through. Do you agree with Tandy? I know Brenda is itching inside as well, but I'll give the time to Jay for now, and then Brenda, you take us through.
I think it's very tricky. And like Tandy always said, like you have to like prioritize and decide what's important to you, and you have to run with that. And I think like the other thing that I maybe want to maybe switch up a little bit is around the concept of buying time. So when I was working as a consultant, that's what I did. So I would work long hours for a certain period of time that I've committed to myself so that I can have a week to myself and then I can just do whatever I want. And if that means spending 2 hours on social media, I can do that with a lot of freedom because I've bought that for myself. So again, it's like, who are you? What do you want? What's important for you? And then you maneuver your time accordingly.
All right. Thank you so much, Janet. I mean, that's a mouthful there.
Like that.
Brenda, Brenda.
Okay. I'm actually, I think, the only single person here. So, so my time is different. I can get away with being selfish with my time as well. But, but I'm telling you. Okay. So the thing is, it's always about to get a balance with time, especially with around relationships, because you're always out all the time, and a lot of last minute lot of appointments have to be cancelled because you have to take out a client or you're working. So I don't know how you guys being married and all are doing it, but as a single person, it's for me.
That's a tricky one. That's why Delphine is not meeting his targets, because I mean most of his time is going now to the marriage. He can't disappoint there because he's only 13 months old, into this thing. So so some of these things you need to you're going to sacrifice your time because you need to to balance the new thing that is coming into your life. And I'm just gonna switch a little bit. I mean, I'm going to studying. I know some of us are still studying as well. Do you have time that you prioritize for studying, or you just say, okay, I'm not studying. I'll after when 2 days is left to submit my thing, and then I'm just gonna do it? Or do you prioritize also as well the same way you do with your work or with your marriage and whatever your relationships? Are you guys also doing that?
Lennon, I think when it comes to studying, I think when you categorize your set goals or your time frames, you have got short-term goals and long-term goals. So I think studying is one of the long-term goals that you have. Like when you're 22, you say, I'm gonna have a degree by this age, and then I'm gonna have a master's by that age. So I think it should fall on the lower dimension. It should be something that you don't see, but is there on the underlying conditions of your life, where it should condition you to automatically know that you have to write an exam and study, which is part of your long-term goals. So I think you should take those from that long-term cycle into the short-term things that you are doing on a daily basis and find time for study.
But Tandiwe, there's also procrastination that comes through. I mean, I would say for myself as a student as well, there is also that mind that say, okay, I will do it tomorrow, or I will do it after with 2 days left. We always do that. I mean, is it the same like what you do for work, or it's different?
I said, I suffer from ADHD. So I don't, if I put an assignment, I can do that assignment in 3 hours and finish it. And other people can do it in 3 weeks. I can do that in 3 hours if I have to. I can't wait when I'm relaxed. So that adrenaline rush, I'm not a stable person in life. Like literally, I'm just that hyperactive person.
You need the fire. You are the fire.
Fire and adrenaline. So I can't work well when I know that I've got all the time. I'll just go shopping or something. When I know now that it's 3 hours to go, then because I believe in this studying things. Really, no, let's not get into it. These books.
Delphine, what do you have to say, my brother?
Yeah, no, I was about to say that doing your assignments 3 hours before is only for smart people. For some of us, I've got a diesel engine. I've got a diesel engine. It needs to warm up. It takes a lot of time. For me, maybe just to actually paint a picture of what I have done, because now I want to try and finish my master's in this year, God willing. So what I've done is with my organization, with Umbe, I've requested the board to allow me to take leave from now, well, from 2 months ago up until the end of the month, up until the end of the year, so that I've got that time that I would have been spending with Waumbe to focus on my studies. And like I was saying earlier, I typically work in the early hours of the morning. And because I've got a supervisor that requires me to make submissions, I unfortunately don't have the leeway of doing it 3 hours before. So, and also there's a complexity with my study because it's something that is new. So I have to take that much more time. So I've taken out time that I was using for my organization to focus on my master's because it's a short-term thing, and I can go back to my organization after I've been able to complete it. And I'm also working early hours of the morning. Are you
using your time wisely? I mean, the time that you've been given by Waumbe, are you using it wisely, or you also giving it to somewhere else, or you taking it somewhere else? I mean, it's very important. You get a leave, you got 3 months to do your thing, but you're not doing your thing. You know, you end up submitting.
This is public,
in 1 month.
This is public. Like,
I want to learn, my brother.
The board is watching right now. I mean, sometimes, well, I'm married now, so these things happen.
Tell what do you have to say?
I think, yeah, it all depends on what type of a person you are. If you're an introvert, I think it's so much easier for you. And like if you're a danda here, Desbro, if you need more time, so
diesel engine.
Time, diesel engines, take your time. Ask Lamborghinis, we'll get you later.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
I don't believe that.
Brenda doesn't believe that. I mean, Brenda, what do you have to say?
And then we end up suffering from bipolar disease. Like the
all right.
Well, what I
was to say, sometimes if those hyperactive people, they tend to suffer from disorders such as bipolar. You swing from mood to mood if you don't find something to keep you busy. So I think people with my condition, they just need to be busy up to something always, not just to sit at home.
Oh yeah. Oh, Juanita?
So you were saying Brenda earlier.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Brenda, you can take us through. I mean, I know studying and working. How are you taking it? I believe and I know that there was time that you were studying and you were also working. How are you balancing your things? I mean, someone out there might get some help. I mean, including myself. I need to know how are you doing it in terms of balancing the schedule for work? Yes. That's the best person to ask.
No, I just want to disagree and agree with regarding studying, because you can wing it and do your assignments, like a day before or something. But third year, that's impossible. You really have to do it way before. And what I realized is, especially, I don't know who else studies with UNISA, but if you study with UNISA, you do your assignments on time, then you have a lot of time to go through revisions and everything. Because at a certain time of your studying, you are not going to be able to cope with winging it. It doesn't happen that way. At some point, you're going to have to, sit down with yourself and say, self, we really need to put our books in order, put our ducks in a row, because it's at some point in your studies, it works a bit, you can wing it a bit, but at some point it just gets to a point where you say, no, now is the time that I need to have my assignments done and handed in, and then I can worry about revisions and everything after that. Because if you want to do it just before exams, then you're going to see yourself deregistering and it won't work.
Yeah, I know. For me, there was some time that I used to procrastinate a lot when it comes to my books, and I ended up taking these books to work, and it affected a lot of of my work as well, because sometimes I'm trying to do I'm looking at the boss, is he there? Then I do my thing, and it didn't really work. It was actually straining. It's stressful because you're studying and you're looking at your boss. Is he there? What is he gonna say? it's very difficult. Jay, your take on this?
Yeah. So I used to work with a lot of students that had the struggle of like time management and motivation and
Yes.
procrastination and all of these things. So one of the things that was really helpful is when you dig a little bit deeper and you ask, so what do you actually spend your time on? So like when you wake up in the morning, like how long does it take you to get done? I had one student that takes 3 hours between getting up and getting to a first class. I was like, girl,
Yeah.
you can
That was
half
that was a diesel engine like Teofino. That was a diesel engine.
so I was so I think so I'm still on this whole thing around buying time for yourself and like finding ways to cut off where you can cut off, and it accumulates at the end of the day. And then I mean there's that other thing that we don't really like to talk about called delayed gratification. So like put in the work, put in the time now so that you maybe have less anxiety when it comes closer to the deadline. And they always like shaking her head.
No, no.
But it's like for some people it depends on your personality and what works for you. But for me and my all over the place head, like I've really had to learn to become friends with delayed gratification when it comes to spending my time.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go back to what Teofino was saying earlier on, that he's more effective like earlier, like late
Yes.
nights. So during the day, what do you do? I mean, obviously you have some spare time. Looking into that, you didn't sleep more than what you were supposed to do. So what do you do, Teofino, with that extra time now? Because obviously, our tech, your wife is at work. You done what you're supposed to do. What do you put in that extra time?
No, so it's actually not extra time.
Okay.
It's me studying or working,
Okay.
like my other personal work before I start the work that pays the bills. So work starts 8:30, 9 o'clock. So for me, I would have worked from like 4, 5 up until 9 o'clock. Then 9 o'clock, I am starting working from home or leaving at work, whichever way you want to look at it. And from 9 up until 5, uh, that's when I'm doing the work that pays the bills. So it's not really extra time. It's just
Okay.
me trying to find in the 24 hours, where do I fit in what? And I just wanted to piggyback whatever the English word is on what Jay was saying, in terms of trying to identify things that really waste our time. Because if you really look at it, if we're really taking account, and all jokes aside and all these things, um, like do what is it that you're doing in the day? If you can take stock of what you have done in your day, what is it that you have done that is really valuable that you could have? There are things that we could have done without social media. There are people who are checking on their relatives and friends. I guess it's important for you. But if you look at it from the greater scheme of things, if you had pushed to do it later, or you have made you were spending less time on it, could you not have used that time on something that is even more valuable, like work or studying, which are really high priority? Well, that's according to me, rather.
Yeah.
I also want to add on to what you said as a comment, to say they have got extra time. Those people like Delphina, when I did not finish to explain what time you sleep, they sleep very early. 8 o'clock, they're off
They're
time
off.
late.
They're gone.
That's my husband. They wake up very early, ne? And then 7 o'clock, they're already sleeping. They're gone. As my mind starts working after PMs, that's when I start
Okay.
working. So I think God created it like that, as a balance, to say there are people who can work it in the morning and there are people who are good at working at night. So they don't have extra time. In whatever we do, in our time frames and the times that we're effective in, that's when we should try and do things that are really beneficial to us. So you can't force a little person to be a morning person when they are evening people. So yeah, you have to find out where you fall. And then to add on to what Delphino was saying also, in terms of prioritizing your stuff, I think you really have to find out what is really important to you. That's what you give most of your time to, and then the rest will fall after.
Okay. I mean, but the guys on the panel, if anyone ever with this type of working that you're talking about, especially Tandiwe and Jay and Delphino and Brenna, you guys saying, okay, you're prioritizing these things, but is anyone meeting their targets? Are you still missing something with this prioritizing? I mean, you put whatever is important on top and the least important at the bottom. Are you still making it, guys? Brenda, are you still making it?
I would say I do. What happens is there are things that are very important or important at the time, and there are things going to be important later. So what I learned is it's better to, over the time that things are not very important at that time to do them. And by the time they're important, you know that you sorted down with. So it gives more time for those things that you guys were mentioning about, whereby things just come in, like where you have to put out fires. I don't know if anybody works in a job where they have to constantly put out fires. I work in one. So there's always putting out fires. Yeah. So I always, there's time for me to put out fires, but also during the time that I know that something is not yet important now, I try as much as I can to push it so that when it becomes important, then I'm not rushing around and, giving substandard work at that time. So it works for me, prioritizing. So yeah, I would say it does work when I do it.
Jay, is it working for you?
Sometimes. And I mean, like not all the time, and like that's just being completely honest. I will say, like, one of the things that I've really become better at now is saying no. So if I genuinely, sometimes like I do not want to do things, but you still do it because you feel like you have to, because people and all of those things. So saying no has been magical for me in terms of saving time for the things that are important. And sometimes I don't get it right, and I've just learned to be really gracious and try again.
Jovin, is it working for you?
Yeah. Listen, I'm the same with Jay. It works some days. Hell no. Some days I feel I'm supposed to wake up at 4, but I'm so tired I wake up late. But again, it's really about saying that's fine. When I've got the opportunity to wake up the next day, I can do it again. So I think for me it's really prioritizing and scheduling my week, and then having a to-do list for the day. And the things that I'm able to do, I cross out. And if it's still priority by the end of the day, I still need to try and complete it or move it to the next day. But also the other thing that has really helped, especially for the people with like side hustles and everything, is having a great team that you work with, that you're able to leverage on to make sure that if you are not there, it doesn't mean that work does not continue. Fortunately for me, I've got great people that I work with, like you and all these people in the Waumba team, that even with my absence on the hands-on work, the organization still continues. So I think the other thing that we really need to think about as entrepreneurs, students, is really finding the right people that we partner with, people that we work with, that are able to lift the load with us. So that sometimes as leaders, we feel like we have to carry everything, because there are sometimes that you really have to say no, like what Jay is saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's very important. I mean, I see a lot of people are commenting. They're also struggling to say no. For me, it's actually a big thing as well. As much as I schedule, I put my things on the diary, I write everything, but that saying no, I'm struggling, guys. I mean, it's just something that comes up and you really can't say no. I don't know if I can say you really can't say no, or it's just me and the other guys that are saying they can't say no. You can't. You try by all means to say, I mean, what can I do? If that's
2 letters, Leonard. It's 2 letters.
I know, guys. It's 2 letters. No. I mean, oh no, that's it. But that sounds rude, eh? That sounds very rude. Sandy, are you struggling to say no?
Yeah, I think it all depends on the type of person you are. I'm that type of a person whereby when someone comes to me and needing help, I don't let them walk away without feeling any better. I always try to be that fixer, that person who's always there for them. So in most of the times, I end up saying yes to many things that I don't
But is there a
intend.
better way to say no, Tandiwe? Before, sorry to cut you
Yeah,
off. Is there a better way to say no?
yeah, I think when as you grow up, you start seeing the need of not pleasing anyone anyway in life, and then you just stick to what works for you. And then I wanted to comment earlier on the point of deadlines of your life. I think
Yeah.
the issue comes with short and long term goals. Sometimes we've got long term goals where we've got set deadlines to say by the time I get to 20, I need to have a degree. By the time I get to 25, I need a car. By 30, I need to get married and have kids. That is what has been set for us by the society, like our previous discussions. So, like with when life is not always as smooth as we plan, and then we face trials and tribulations. So, at the end of the day, you might find out that what you had planned to achieve when you were 26, you still haven't achieved that. And then we end up taking that guiltiness with us to say, I'm not working hard enough, or God is punishing me, like religious people would say. I just want to clarify when things
Yeah.
are not, it's not what we plan and what God plans for us are two different things. And just trust the process. God doesn't make mistakes. So if you don't achieve what you intended to achieve, or you don't have what you thought you'd have by that time, just trust the universe, trust God. Things will just happen naturally as they are meant to be.
Oh. Oh.
Can I just come in there?
Yeah.
I agree with you spiritually. Totally
Yeah.
agree with you
Okay.
in terms of allowing God's time and all these things. But I think there's also a line that we need to draw for ourselves so that we don't continue to push things for next time, next year. No, it's still going to happen because I think we end up just living in mediocrity. And it's like, I know God's time is still coming. I'll complete my 3-year degree in 10 years. But
Yeah.
you've already lost time and income that you could have gained if you would have sacrificed and put in the hours that you're supposed to put in. But spiritually, God's time is best. But physically, let's work.
I think when you're
Yeah.
doing your best, when you're doing enough, and then just do your best, and then let the rest be in God's hands. I think when you use
Tandiwe,
the time,
Sten say in the comments there, I mean, you guys have spoken a lot about scheduling everything. You've spoken about work, studying, and marriage, but there's no time for family. I mean, where is the time for family? You wake up early in the morning. You are a 9 to 3 a.m. person. In the morning, you go to 5 to 8 job. I mean, to 8 to 5. But where is the time for family? I mean, we need that time. How are you doing it, guys? Because I mean, I'm also struggling. There's sometimes I steal my family time, try to do some things, and I just take the knock. How are you struggling as balancing it with the family as well, the family time?
Yeah. I think it's really difficult, particularly when you're pushing towards a particular goal.
Yeah,
So like we all sort of like at that age where you the opportunities are there and you want to like do things and it is for your family and so that you can provide and all of those things. So it's a difficult balance to strike at the end of the day. But I think like for me, it comes down to discipline. So I know I have to phone my mother during the week and I have to check in with her and see how she's doing. And I need to be disciplined around that. So it's around sort of I guess it's again around the whole thing about prioritizing
yes.
and then adding discipline into that. So if I said tomorrow I'm going to go visit my mother, then unfortunately I can't do X, Y, and Z because I've committed to this. But
And the
again,
family,
like, it's difficult.
and does the family understand as well? Because obviously, whatever you're planning, whatever you're doing, as a working person, as a studying person, and you need to include your family as well, because you can't just do your thing. You schedule your things, and your family is not part of the schedule. Will they understand? Are they understanding, or do they understand, or will they understand what you're trying to do? Because some of our parents, they don't even understand this studying and then working, and they see like they ask you, you wasting time. You studied 4 years. You did this and this, but you're still studying. when are you going to have time for us, And sometimes some of the people who've got kids, the kids will say, but daddy, mommy, you're still studying. You studied it all a long time ago. Does the family understand these things? I mean, it's some of these things that comes up. Do they understand?
It's difficult. I was a first-gen university student. So explaining that, I sit in a class the entire day. I'm actually doing something. It's not just sitting around the entire day.
Yeah.
That was a struggle back home. So I
Yes.
think, but it is that, I think with my family, like when they saw that, when I started like being able to explain it, because you also don't understand it, because you don't
Yes.
have a frame of reference. But once you build an understanding and you're able to explain, like I've got a very supportive family in terms of how I spend my time and my goals and all of those things. But again, some people aren't lucky in that regard.
Lucky
Yeah.
you. Delphino, how are you dealing with these things? Your family, I mean, I know the family also needs you. Everyone needs you. How are you dealing it? Are they understanding what you're trying to do? You're trying to do your master's in this year. I'm also trying to do the same thing. Are they understanding? We yeah. How are you dealing with it?
So I think quality time is not necessarily about the quantity of the time during the day. Sometimes I think we must also be very clear. It's not necessarily about saying we must spend 4 hours. It could be just 1 hour where I am fully involved, fully absorbed, and sitting and really checking in with my wife. If that's my wife, how was your day? How did things go? And we having a conversation for that full hour. And I guess it's then having the part that Jay's talking about of saying a supportive family, people that really understand that this is what he needs to do right now or she needs to do right now. And after this time period, we're going to have time with him. I guess with my extended family, well, they do understand. And I also make sure that I've got weekends and days that I spend time with them. Now with COVID, I can just do a video call. Fortunately,
Fortunately.
and my data can run out after 2 hours. I'm like, data is finished.
Data is finished, then you're sorted. Brenda, how are you dealing with this thing? I mean, in terms of family, we know families need to understand as well what you're doing.
Yeah, no, they do. They really do. So like, I don't know, somebody did say that, you schedule time that you speak to the family, and they understand that, okay, this is the time that I can speak to them. This is the time that I cannot speak to them. And yeah, it's a bit of a struggle for them to understand it, especially with extended family. They don't get it. Because everyone wants to be a part of your life, but they get that point that, you cannot be a superhuman, you cannot be omnipresent, God.
Yeah.
So sometimes I actually get away with I'm not God. So yeah, so it's just about finding balance.
Okay. Yeah. Chandi?
I think when it comes to family, COVID-19 has really given us enough time to connect with our close families that we stay with, because we were forced to work from home on the lockdown. And then that was really a good thing, because we never knew or never thought for a while that this would happen. And then we really got to understand people's personalities that we didn't know, and characteristics that maybe we overlooked. So yeah, I agree that it is important to spend too much time together, but not too much time together in each other's faces. And then we also have to accept the concept of change in this society that we live in the information society, to say it's okay to communicate over WhatsApp and Facebook. We really don't have to see me every day physically, really. If it's an extended family, people have got a tendency of, when they see you on Facebook, then they say, oh, it's you haven't seen us, you don't even greet us, you've forgotten us, your uncle.
Yeah.
I don't greet you every day. You end up gossiping about people. I think it's not only important to talk when it's necessary. If I see your statuses every day, I know your life, you're fine. That's good for me. Let's go on. I don't have to say good morning, good evening it's not gonna be okay for our relationship. We need to give each other space. And then when I see you're fine, I'll talk to you when it's necessary, when I need something to talk to you, or when you're joking about something, not to be in each other's spaces. So I think video calling, like what Dee was saying, it's really important, just checking on each other here and there, not to be everywhere every time.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Good words there. I mean, balancing time needs family time, school time, work, all these things. You guys have been so great on this conversation. And just before we go, Teofino, your parting shots. What are your words for the people out there?
Ish, no real parting shots. I guess for me, it's um, time is a very precious thing, and I think the value that you put on it, and don't let people put you under pressure uh, for what they feel is a priority to them. If it's not for you, then it's definitely not for you. Set your time, move at your own pace, tick your boxes as you're going, as long as it's making you happy and you're moving according to your purpose. Do what you need to do, and also I think have the right people around you, people that understand you. For me, I'm grateful to God that I have a family, a wife, and good friends that really understand and not wanting to be in my face all the time. But when we need to catch up, we catch up. We need to do things, we do things, and have a team that you can really work with. And I think it's also important to have people that keep you accountable for the things that you're also supposed to be doing, because sometimes we're human and we slack. And if we don't have
Yes.
people cracking the whip, it takes us very long.
Oh, no, that's great. That's great. Thank you so much, Teofino. Brenda, your parting shots.
Well, I just want to say that there's always time for everything that's important. So we just have to see what's important and what's not. Most of the times we end up because we so pressured and we running around and we don't know where to start. That's where we end up, falling into Facebook, Netflix, and TikTok, which is now the new thing.
New thing.
So most of the times when there's our time wasters, we really need to look at it in a very logical sense and really talk to ourselves at times to see the benefits of us being on social media for play instead of really getting the work in. Because if you go for a week without social media, you realize that you're not going to die. You'll be fine.
You will be fine. You will be fine. Thank you so much, Brenda. Tandy, where your parting shots?
I just want to say that time management, time is a resource that we do not have. Time is a resource that money cannot buy, and something that we don't have, and we cannot say I have this much time left in my life. You don't know if you've got 1 hour to go, 2 hours to go, 10 years or 30 years to go. So I think you just have to be value oriented when it comes to time. Do what makes you happy and do what you think you have to do. Don't live to other people's expectations, because this is your life. You're here once. I like to quote like one of my favorite musicians, Leonard Shakata. He says, "Pasi rine tsika kamwe kuti kana waenda uchadzoka." Saka chese chaunoda kuita nguva ndiyo iyi. Do what you have to do now. You don't have any other time that you think you have in the world. Just use this time, the limited time that you have, that God has given you, to do what your heart intends to do, because there's no other life after this where you're gonna do that what you do now.
All right, that's powerful there. Jay, your parting shots.
I think it's extremely important that we do not compare ourselves to anybody. So we're all walking our own path and we're all going towards our own goals and all of those things. So don't sit down and compare yourself with what Beyonce can do in 24 hours and like start feeling yourself, finding yourself lacking. So just like do the best you can with what is in your hand. And then I think something that we didn't speak enough about is that life is to be enjoyed. So in all the prioritizing and all of the stuff that we need to endure to get to where we need to go, enjoy life, please.
Yeah, that's great one. Thank you so much, guys. I mean, you need to balance time. You need to all these things that you need to do in your life. Do it now. Prioritize. Make time for family. Make time for your work, because you're all yet for the money. Make time for your studies because you need this, the education. Thank you so much, guys. It's been great having you on the panel. I'm sure 1 or 2 people, including myself, has been helped. And it's been great having you guys. And it's bye for now.